First of all, it tends to be easier on the wrist if your fingers are off the blocks like this, okay? And that's just because the two flexors that attach to the fingers, profundus and superficialis, will have a little shortening, a little less intense lengthening on those, because you're gonna be quite extended at the wrist joint in order to get to Lolasana. However, that also presents the opportunity to make it easier on the hip flexors because they won't have to lift up as high. So here's how we'll start. You're gonna tuck your toes underneath like this and bring the blocks back behind your knees, and that's gonna feel so awkward to you, okay? Because what I'd like you to do is bring your shoulders, and look how my fingers are turned out, by the way. You see how they're turned out to the sides. It's gonna give my wrist more available movement, okay? So turn the hands out, lean forward, and bring the shoulders in front of the wrist, and see how I'm protracting the scapula. So push the shoulder blades apart, and then just come out of that, give your wrist a break. So now the next step will be to pull your knees up like so and protract the scapula. So see if you can get into this position here, or even if it's just for a moment. You move your knees towards the chest. This is why your toes are tucked, right? But don't move your weight back like I just did. You move your knees to the chest and lean forward and protract. I should mention, I apologize, that this should be in front. Okay, so one more time, that same action. I go shoulder blades apart, knees to chest, lean forward, fingers grip the block, and come back down. Push the shoulder blades apart, okay? The next step will be to start working on lifting one leg. I suggest you cross your ankles here and do the same thing, okay? Knees up here, pull one heel to bum. You can switch it, pull one heel to bum, and maybe you get a moment of lifting the other leg up. Even if you just kind of, flick it up for a second, that could be quite empowering. Switch ankles and take rest and try again. The more you protract your scapula, the more you lean forward, grip the ground, all the things we've worked on, the more accessible this posture becomes. Now, there is another way you could think about this, is lift up the legs and work on the posture here, protracting the scapula, fingers grip the ground, right? And maybe lift one leg, push, push. Okay, so that you have this nice base of support underneath your shins. Put yourself up on 2 blocks or more and get the posture and work on separating the shoulder blades. You could also do this on fingertips, which for some of you with thinner bones, frailer bones, not a good idea. If you have thick, dense bones like I do, the fingertips doesn't really present an issue. So when I put all the weight bearing on my fingers, I don't have any pain in the joints or anything. The muscles of my hands and wrist and everything are very strong, and I've built bone density over time with putting my fingers on the ground in every posture. But for many of you, just the frailness of the bones, the thinner boned kind of folks out there, that's, it's gonna hurt your joints and not feel very good. So the blocks are a better idea. Full palms on the ground. And you can see I lean forward. It's like I'm gonna do a somersault before I pull the knees up to the chest. Round the back, separate the shoulder blades, pull the knees to the chest. But ultimately, if your fingers aren't gripping, shoulder blades aren't pushing, this posture will not exist. It'll just hurt on the wrist. You won't get any takeoff, but you gotta learn how to push the shoulder blades apart. As it becomes more accessible to you, then it becomes a really great posture to work on your protraction strength, the serratus anterior. But in the beginning, you really gotta use prop edge as much as you can to really just focus on getting the body weight forward, the hands behind the shoulders, shoulders in front of the hands, that is. Okay, so one more time, I'll do it on fingertips. That's the most comfortable variation for me. Shoulders apart, lean forward. Lolasana. Crossing the ankles too, by the way, again, can make this much more accessible.